My name is Eric Griffith. I'm the director of, or the district technology director for Covington Schools. This next presentation, and so the first one I'm going to talk about is called Google Drawing, and it's Bland to Beautiful is the one that we're doing here. So let's see if I can find my Bland to Beautiful presentation. It's in here somewhere, not that one. Why don't I just click on the link? All right, so the other thing I've done is if you click on this link, it's going to say make a copy. I've got a lot of feedback from folks that say when you watch a presentation, you'd like to be able to open it, make a copy for yourself, and make notes. Okay, so that's what this one does. So this session today is going to go over how I use Google Drawing to make Google beautiful, right? A lot of you, if you've ever used Microsoft Office, you had that down, right? Inserting clip art, moving things around, and then Google changed and just messed it all up, didn't they? Right. So my years as a graphic designer, prior to being a tech person, has allowed me to figure out and find the best way to use Google Drawing to get my needs, to get exactly what I want. So I'm going to go and show you how I use Google Drawing to make that work for me. All right. A little bit about myself. I'm married with children. My wife's a science teacher, so we do lots of fun science things. This morning we had a baby gecko escape from a cage in our house. So that was fun. You know, living on the edge. So, technology director, I used to host a podcast called The State of Tech, and I'm starting up another one here soon. So if you follow me on Twitter, that's at Mr. Grifftastic, you'll learn all about that. Yes, Mr. Grifftastic. I earned that name in college, and that's a after-hours story I will share with you later. All right, so an overview of what this session is about is we'll do some Google Drawings, a demo of how Google Drawings works if you've never used it. First of all, let's assess my audience. How many of you have ever used Google Drawings before? Okay, all right, so I'm going to start from the beginning, okay, and show you how Google Drawing works. Show you all my tips and tricks on how that works, and then as a test, we're going to create just a little simple stationery that you could use with your school logo, something like that at the top. That'll give you a good idea of how this works. Now, Google Drawing is a very awesome tool. You can do a lot of different tips and tricks with it, and I am just touching the very tip of the iceberg with it. I've made interactive diagrams with it before so that kids can drag and drop things, a lot of that stuff. So if you follow me on Twitter and you go back far enough in your stream, you can see those videos on how I've done that too. But this is the very basics, the very start of how it works. All right? So if you don't know Google Drawing, how many of you know Microsoft Paint? Have you ever used Microsoft Paint? Okay. Google Drawing is like Microsoft Paint on steroids. Okay. It is an awesome tool. What it does is it uses a concept called layering, right? Object-oriented layering. So that means when you insert something in Google Drawing, it's an object that you can move and manipulate around. It's the opposite of Microsoft Paint. When you draw on the canvas of Microsoft Paint, it's embedded. It's stained that surface, okay? So this is an object-oriented program. You can grab and manipulate any object that you have in there, okay? So in Google Drawing, we're going to go over a couple of different things, how to copy and paste drawings, insert text box, images, lines, different things like that. And then we're also going to acquire images off the internet using fair use, right? Because we're educators and we got that little badge that says we can do that. And I'm going to teach you the best way to do that, right? Some tips and tricks that you might not, or that you might know. Do we have any Mac devices, Apples? Okay, so on an Apple, on a Chromebook it might not work, but on a Apple laptop it does something weird. But if you have a Chromebook or something like that, this definitely will work, and I'll show you how to do it. If you're using a device other than that, I'll show you the other way to do that too. Okay? So first, let's see a sample letterhead that I made using Google Drawing. Okay? So this is 2014. DWE was Doran Wilson Elementary back in the day when I worked at Mechanicsburg. 2014, we had a Waiver Day tech presentation. So that cute little letterhead at the top, I did that in Google Drawing. But I used a couple of applications to do that, right? So this is just the cutesy side of it. You can make it look a lot more professional. Almost all of our letterhead at Mechanicsburg was done in Google Drawing. So I'm going to show you how I did that, and let's get started doing that now. So everybody has access to Google Drawing unless your tech person has shut that off, which they shouldn't. If you go to your Google Drive and you hit New down here at the bottom, they hide Google Drawing from you. It's like the red-headed stepchild of Google, right? They put them behind some submenus. Nobody talks about them, okay? But where he's actually hidden is under the More section. So if I go down to More, right there it is. I click on Google Drawings. And so this is the official Google Drawings, right? Now, there's another version of Google Drawings that is built into Google Docs, and that we're going to call that the bastardized version of it. I would choose a different term if you're reteaching this to children, but we're all adults and we can laugh at things. So this is the official version. There's a mini version, a bastardized version, and I'll show you the differences between the two. But to get the full range of what you're using, I'm going to use this one today. Okay? So the first thing we do, because this is a Google product, I'm going to increase my real estate here by hitting F11 on this Windows PC, and that sort of makes everything a little bigger. And then I'm going to hit Control plus a couple of times so that you guys can see those menus. How's that for you? Can you see that? Okay. So up at the top, just like any other Google Doc, we can name our drawing. So I'm going to call this my header. Okay. So because I'm going to try and make maybe a sample header eventually that we can copy and paste and use. Okay. So as soon as I've named that, notice that it automatically saves it to Google Drawings, right? Now, over here we have a file menu, insert, everything the same way as the other Google documents. And then we have insert lines, shapes, text boxes, and images. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to do, just as an example to show you how this works, is I'm going to insert a shape. So just like in Microsoft Office, you would insert word art, right? So same concept. I'm going to choose this rounded looking guy, and then I get a crosshair, and I'm going to click and drag and let go. So right there I've created an object. Remember I said this is object oriented. Right? So I've created an object and I can manipulate that object as long as I've clicked on it. Okay? So notice my toolbar up at the top, as soon as I click off that object, it changes. My toolbar changes based on the needs of the object I click on. So as soon as I click on this, I can change the color, I can change the line that goes around it. They call that the stroke or the border. I can change how the thickness of the border. I can change whether it's a dot, it's a dash, anything like that. I can change the font of this object. And you're looking at me going, Eric, there is no font. I don't see any words. This guy's high, right? No, I assure you, if I change the font in that, I can then double click on that object and type in it. And suddenly it's a text box. Okay? So this is a hint for one of the other things that I've used this as, is a word box for students, right? If I build something in Google Drawing and my directions say double click on the box and type in a word, right? Then that's what the child or student can do. So if you're building something for kids to use this for, that's what you can do. You can double click on that and type a word in there. You can pre-choose the font. You can make it big, bold, any color you want, okay? Change the font, all that fun stuff. But what I'm going to do is click on this, and then we're going to practice manipulating it a little bit, because this is the key feature that is going to cause you frustration later on as you're building stuff inside this program. So I'm going to show you how to do this now. Okay? So I've got one object there. We're going to go ahead and leave it sort of weird looking blue. All right? I'm going to grab another object. Let's choose a triangle, and I'll draw a triangle. Except, you know what? I'll draw it over top of my weird little other shape, and we'll make that orange. Okay? So you can clearly see the two objects. One is on top of each other, right? Just like in Microsoft Publisher, you have the ability to move these objects around in layers. So in order to do that, if I want the triangle to go behind this other shape, there's two ways to do it. I can right-click on it, and I can go to Order, and I can say Send Backward. So as soon as I do that, I've sent it to the back. Or I could have clicked on this other object, right? I could have right-clicked on that, gone to Order, and said, hey, bring it forward. So same concept. So as long as these two objects, as long as you understand as you're trying to move them around, that you can move them around, change the layering of it, then you're good to go. Half the battle of frustration is resolved. Okay? Now, The other thing that I find that this program is really cool at doing is acquiring images off the internet. All right? So I'm going to show you my trick on how to do this. Now this works on any Chromebook right off the bat, so I'm going to decrease my real estate at the top and I'm going to bring my bar back and I'm going to open up a new tab and we're just going to go to Google and I'm going to search for a minion. Right? Everybody loves minions. And I'm going to click on Google Images. Okay, so got all these fun pictures of minions, right? And if I want to grab this minion and I want to insert this into my Google Drawing, I can drag and drop. Okay? Microsoft Publisher can't do this, but Google Drawings can. Okay? Now again, the correct way to do this, or the correct setup to do this, is on a Chromebook or a Windows desktop, as long as you have Chrome installed. If you're going to use an iPad, I'll show you the next way to do this. All right. So the first thing is, let's say I want to grab this picture of the minions right here. Actually, I want this picture. Okay. I want this minion right here. No, I want this picture right here. This minion. Okay. And I want to get this minion into my Google Drawing. Okay. Now the first thing I did is I had to click on this picture, and that's something to remember when you're acquiring images off the internet from Google Drawing or from Google Images. You want to click on that image first. From here you can click and hold and drag and drop. Notice when I'm dragging and dropping, I have that little image, right? Drag and drop, and then I hover over my tab up at the top. And watch what happens when I hover over my tab. Now again, I've not let go of my cursor. It changes my tab. I could go back. I could go to any tab that I want. Okay? And you'll see a little arrow appear when you do that. Then all I have to do is let go, and then it inserts that image of that minion. Okay? So from here, I can go ahead and use my bounding box. That's what it's called when you've clicked on the image. I see a happy oh my gosh face, or maybe that's a yawn. I'm not sure. It's a little far away. All right, and I can manipulate and move this guy around, right? So that's cool and all, right? We can easily acquire images off the internet, right? An example of how I've taught kids to do this is maybe build a timeline or a collage of pictures, or actually one of our first projects was building appropriate memes out of pictures, okay? So you can use Google Drawing to build memes, okay? So a funny little presentation on how to do that is a nice introduction to Google Drawing. Now that can backfire on you quickly if you've armed your students with a project and then you've, given them a loaded weapon and say, okay, use it for good. So you might want to choose your audience appropriately to do that. Now here's the thing I'm noticing. That minion, it has a white box around that. Why is that? It's white. Shouldn't it just bleed through the image? Does anybody know why that is?
Part of the picture.
Because it's part of the picture. The image I grabbed is called a JPEG, okay? Those come out of your camera. They're called either JPEG or JPG, okay? So those types of images are high-resolution photos. They typically come out of your camera, or they're generated by graphic design stuff, okay? What I want to do is find one where that minion is cut out. And you might think, well, how would I do that if I was back at school? Well, I'd print him out, and I'd cut around him, and then I'd tape him right back on the printer, and I'd put it back in the copier and all as well, right? Well, there's an easier way to do that, right? So the easier way to do that is, I'm going to leave that minion there. When we're searching for minions, we're going to use Google Tools up at the top. So do you see this images up at the top? Right over here, you have something called Tools. I'm going to click on Tools, and as soon as I do that, I have color. I have size, color, usage rights. We won't pay any attention to that. But right under here, color, one of these options for color is called transparent. So when I click on transparent, that redoes my search, and now it looks the same, right? But wait, there's more, okay? Now I'm going to click on this minion. Let's find a bigger minion. Let's find a bigger minion. Okay. Now I'm going to click on this minion, and you can just barely see from the cheap seats in the back. Can you see what this is? It's a little pattern, okay? And that checkerboard pattern, that means something very special. Does anybody know what that means?
It means it'll turn black if you try to put it into something.
Okay, that means it'll turn black if you try and turn it into something. That means that you probably opened it up in Word and the background was black and it got all weird. What that means is it's a transparent image. So this is most likely a file called a PNG. Okay? So when you're searching for stuff, you can either search for PNG files, because most of those have a transparent background, or you can go up to the top, change your tools to clear, or what was that? Transparent, right? And so that's going to pick out images that are transparent. So why am I dazzling you with this nerd knowledge? Let me show you. If I grab this image, and we're going to do the same thing before, notice now when I drag him across, he kind of bleeds through, right? I don't see that white box anymore. I'm going to drag, put him over this image, and drop him right in there. Fingers crossed. Look at that. That image now bleeds through whatever background I did. Okay? So let's say you're having your kids create an animated story or do something like that, you can find an image that is a PNG or has that transparent background, and that's going to be a lot more professional, a lot cooler looking. Okay? So why is this also important? If I want to do a header, okay, and that's what we started off doing, I'm going to click on this guy and hit delete. I'm going to nix that triangle. And I'm going to manipulate this a little bit, and I'm going to make my banner right here, my header, and I'm going to put this guy right up here. And I need some text here to insert to make my banner at the top, right? So I'm going to go up here to the top, and I can click on text, right? And I could say this is Mr. Griftastic Classroom, right? So I could have my text there. I can change it to whatever font I want. I can change the size, all that stuff, right? And I can put my header right there, okay? But that's not cool enough, okay? I'm here to razzle and dazzle and bedazzle you, right? So I need some cool text to put in there. Google Drawing isn't going to cut it, right? I need a website where I could grab some cool text and put that anywhere. Does anybody know a website that could give me cool text?
Isn't there something on Google called like Xfont?
I've never heard of that, but I've heard a website called cooltext.com. We could try and go there. Let's go there. Almost had that segue. We'll talk afterwards when we do this again, and I'll get you on the right track. All right, so cooltext.com. Now, safety warning, okay? Safety warning, if you don't have some sort of ad blocker, okay, and you've been using your personal device or this is a shared computer that you're working on, the advertisements that pop up on the left or side might not be school appropriate, okay? The last time I did this, I had a Kotex ad and a Panties Her Way ad on the opposing side. It was super awkward because it was a room full of male tech coordinators who judged me immediately, right? So, whatever, I'm over it, broad shoulders, okay? But fair warning, that's how that works. The other thing embarrassing was I did this again and I used another teacher's computer to present this, and 2 dating websites popped up on both sides, and it was in front of her kids, and I'm like, crap, you know? So, fair warning, advertising sucks, okay? It's going to read those cookies on the side, right? So this website is called cooltext.com, and it is a text generator, okay? This site is also a time vampire. Does anybody know what that is? It will suck the time away from you like no other. Back in the day when you used to create websites and all that fun stuff, and you spent so much time making it look cool, that's what this site's going to bring back, okay? So, my advice on you is pick a font, pick some settings, and stick with it. Because as a graphic designer, that's why I'm not a graphic designer anymore. Okay? All I did was continue to change until it looked right, and then I think I can change the font again and do this again. So I'm suggesting to you, pick a font you like and stick with it. I'm going to pick Keen. Okay? But they also have animated fonts. I could go Burning, right? I'm going to pick Keen because that's pretty basic. And I can type in Mr. Griftastic. Okay, so I've got my font right there. See what it does there? I can also adjust the size right here and make it large. if I click on the, go back, buddy. If I click on the font, I could change the font. Again, it is Time Vampire though. If I click logo, I can change my colors, right? So if I wanted this to have a similar color to what the minion was wearing, I could do that. Okay, so something like that. All right, and now this is an image, right? We've already learned how to acquire images, right? What do I need to do to get this image off this page? Drag and drop, right? So the other way, if dragging and dropping isn't working for you, right? Or if some of our students haven't grasped the fine motor skills yet to master that on a trackpad of a Chromebook, the other way to do that is like this. You want to right-click on the image, go down to Copy Image, then you're going to go back over, right-click, and paste. And that's as simple as that, okay? That's how you've acquired the image. So I'm going to get rid of this plain old yucky text, and I'm going to put this text up there. Okay? So there, if I wanted to make a fun little border or a fun little header, I could do that. So do you see how this kind of works out? Kind of cool, right? Now I'm sorry I wasted a good solid Sunday for you guys, right? You're going to go home and you're just going to make a bunch of pretty things in Google and say, why did he show me how to do this? Now I can't stop doing it. Now it's super frustrating, right? So anyway, that's how this program works. We can continue to make changes to it and continue to modify it. And again, this is why I'm not a graphic designer anymore, because I could not stop making changes to something, right? It was never finished. Okay? Even now, I'm really fighting, trying not to stop. But I know I can make it better. I could probably pull this guy up front. Right? A little bit of a design. Okay? I could keep going making this cute. Okay? So anyway, those are the three things I really wanted to show you about Google Drawings. How to insert and copy or acquire images, right? And then how to use those to make whatever you're trying to make. Okay? So the next step is, how do I use this inside a Microsoft Drawing, or a Google Doc, something like that, right? So that's where it gets a little weird. So let me show you this. I've already got this, right? I've already got this one set up. Now the other thing I didn't do down here at the bottom, do you see these three lines on my screen? If I grab these, I can adjust it, and then I can adjust the page size, my canvas size of the image, okay? So I can adjust that, make that look exactly the way I want. And so if I'm thinking of a header or a banner going across the top, I can do that. I even have more fine controls with this, where I can go up to the top and I can hit File, Page Setup, down to Custom, and then right over here I could change it to exact number of pixels. So let's say my kids, I'm working on something and I need to upload a banner that is exactly 600 by 100, right? I can now redefine those parameters exactly, because that's whatever program I'm uploading a graphic for, that's how I can define those parameters, and then I can design my graphic to fit that. Has anybody ever seen that, where you have to upload an image and it says it needs to be at least 600 by 600 or 100 by 200, something like that? That's what this means. So if you go under Page Setup, you can define those parameters to do that for you. Okay, so this is a pretty powerful graphic design, red-headed stepchild program hidden within the Google Drive. Okay, so from here, I've adjusted my document the way I want. Now I want to get this into a new Google document. Okay, so following along with how easy it's been so far, I should be able to just go back to my Google Drive, click on Documents, and I should be able to take this document. Can I drag and drop? No, I can't do that. Can I select everything, right-click, and copy, and then go back to that new document, right-click and paste? Is it going to be that easy? No, it's not. So for some reason, they don't allow you to copy from one to the other. They don't make it that easy, right? So here's my trick on this. If I go into Insert, I see Google Drawing. Okay, that's the same process. But wait, this is that bastardized version of Google. Okay, so if I go to Insert and Google Drawing, I would assume, being a tech guy and the way the internet works, it's going to prompt me to search for that Google Drawing file that I just created, right? To me, that would make sense. I could just insert a new Google Drawing and I'd be done, right? Well, it doesn't work that way. This is kind of frustrating, kind of weird, but when I click on Drawing, I get this. What the hell is that? That is the bastardized version of Google Drawing, okay? So, okay, that's fine. This is actually okay. We can use this later if we're designing something for kids, right? Later, I have a level 2 Google Classroom that I teach. I don't think I'm teaching it here, but in one of those sessions, I talk about creating a Google worksheet that you've pushed out in Google Classroom, and when the kids double click on it, they get this, and then they can edit and manipulate, move objects, match things up, right? So I'm actually okay with this because it's good for something that we can use later, but right now it sort of makes that frustrating, okay? So I copied my image before. Can I just right click and paste it here? Google saying, look, Chief, if you want to be as nerdy as me, you can just hit Control and C to copy, or Control and C, or Control X to cut, or Control V to paste. They're trying to teach you all these different shortcuts, right? Has anybody ever used those? Control C, copy in the keyboard, Control V, paste. They're trying to teach you more to be more of a nerd, more productive, okay? That's great, but if I'm doing a demonstration, I want that apparent on the screen, that I'm right-clicking and copying and pasting. So I'm going to say, hey, thanks for your suggestion, Google. Super appreciate it, but I totally know what I'm doing, okay? I'm going to right-click and hit paste. Oh, you son of a gun. All right, I'll do what I'm told. Control V and paste. Okay, so from here, I've got this, and then I can sort of move it around and edit it there. Okay? And then I can hit save and close, and then my document's right there. Okay? Oh, as soon as the internet stops. Oops, so I'm going to double click on this. Move this over a little bit. Kind of move. And we'll hit save and close. All right. So there. That's how to get that inside that document. Now what's cool about this is I can always double click right on that graphic, jump right back in there, and make changes. One of the coolest things I've seen another teacher use this for is they did page layouts. They had kids work on stories, different things like that. And so at the top they had a big header of their newspaper, right, their digital newspaper, and they had to change the date that it was released, the volume number, all that stuff, and they kept that up in the top where they just double click on it and they go in and make the change. So kind of cool way to do it. You could have designed all this in that bastardized version of Google Drawing. Okay, you could have done that, but I really wanted to show you the difference between the two. Okay, so hopefully I didn't confuse you too much, and hopefully you understood why I did that, because there's two different versions of Google Drawing. They do the same thing. One's a little more laid out and organized than the other is. So, any questions on that so far? How did I do that? How many of you think this is going to be helpful? You can use this in your classroom very next day. Yep? Okay, good. Hopefully you didn't write down that Time Vampire website and you've just forgotten about that, because that will ruin a Sunday. Okay? So while we're ruining Sundays, I'm going to give you another website that's definitely going to ruin your Sunday. Okay? I'm going to go back to this drawing. And the other website is called softicons.com. And so if I go to softicons.com, this is a website full of icons that already have that transparent background built in. Okay? So if you're searching for how to make a study guide for if you're trying to build a how-to document or how to do a study guide or something like that, this is a good website to do that. It has a lot of different graphics. It's not safe for work warning. Don't go to hardicons.com like I accidentally did during a presentation. Not what you think. I was thinking soft icons, hard icons. Maybe they're a little bit more defined and chiseled. No, they're not. Yeah. Safety tip. Okay? So anyway, with this website, there is one little difference that I want to show you, right? And I'm going to stick with my Minion theme. Okay? So I'm going to type in Minion, right? And there just happens to be some Minion icons here. Ooh, the purple one. That's fun. So these icons, if you don't know what an icon is, they're typically on your desktop, right? And they're They're almost always in a square format to use. A lot of graphic designers use these so they don't have to redesign or redraw one, right? So, but you can use this as a clip art solution for you, right? And if you have any other clip art websites, you can use those too. Same deal, copy and paste the image into Google Drawing. Through fair use, we're allowed to use that, okay? As educators, you're allowed to copy and paste as long as you're not selling it, right? So I wouldn't test the boundaries of that and go to Disney and start copying and pasting away, but within fair use, you are allowed to copy and paste some things. So why I went to this website is it behaves a little differently. And you may run across another website that does this, okay? So this website, you can see these icons. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. They kind of moved all over the road. I'm going to zoom out. So these icons, as soon as I click on them, I can actually move them around. I don't have to click and hold, okay? They're transparent, I can tell, because if I move them in front of things, that's kind of funny. All right, if I move him in front of things, I can see he's transparent. But if I try and drag and drop him, he's not dragging and dropping. What the heck, right? So sometimes websites will have that. They've done something funny with the code of this website to prevent you from just dragging and dropping. But this website is like that for a reason. It's so that graphic designers, when they're looking to use these icons, can hover them over backgrounds and see just how transparent they are. So this is a tool that's like that. I haven't come across a lot of websites that do this, but I hate to make a liar out of myself with that one website that you found, and then you're going to curse my name later because you couldn't drag and drop it. So I want to show you the other way to get an image, okay? This one just happens to have a link right below it. Sure, we could copy the image, but this one has the link right below it. So I'm going to click this link and then watch what happens. Internet pending, watch what happens. It says, hey, we want to save this file. Okay, I want to save the file. Now on a Chromebook, it's just going to download and appear in your download bar, right? You can click the copy button, you can go to insert and insert the image regular like that. But with this, it says, hey, I want to download it. So I'm going to go right to my desktop, and I'm going to hit save, and hopefully we have the right to do that. And so right now, if I were to minimize my screen, I've got a little bit of a minion right there, a little purple icon right on my desktop. There are two ways I can get this back onto my drawing. Actually, there are three ways I can get this back onto my drawing. One, I can go down to my downloads bar, and I can drag and drop right there. Okay? So that's kind of cool. That's one way. The other is, if I'm on a Windows computer, I can drag and drop, hover over that, make sure this guy's open, drag and drop, and boom, there he is again. Okay? So there's a couple of different ways to get it. The very last one is the way they intended you to do it automatically, and that's by going up to Insert, Image, and Upload from the computer. Okay? So that's the way they really wanted you to insert the image. You can say Upload to the computer, and there it'll open up a menu, and you can click Insert and grab it there. So there are three different ways to grab images off websites. Okay? And hopefully you don't run into any other awkward ways to do it. But those are the best ways to grab images that are transparent. Okay? The last way I'm going to show you has to do with clipping the screen, or it's called screen scraping or screen capturing. Okay? And so hopefully you know of a tool that will do this already. On a Windows device, is this Windows 10? It is. On a Windows device, if I wanted to grab this image and for some reason it wasn't letting me do it, I can use something called the snipping tool. You guys ever heard of this tool? Yep. So to activate the tool, you'll hit the Windows button and you type in snip. Pops right up. I can click on that. And then what happens is this little menu pops up. I click New. And then I can draw a picture right around what I want to grab. Okay? So that grabs my image. Now, that's kind of cool about this tool is it automatically copies it to your clipboard. So if I go back over to my Google Drawing and I hit Edit and Paste, it's going to drag and drop, or it's going to copy and paste that image. But what's different about this versus the other way we did it? What's different about it? Maybe the background. When I did this, it grabbed the screen exactly, right? With those little tiled checkered backgrounds exactly. Okay? Okay? So kind of frustrating if you didn't want it and you wanted the guy cropped out. That's unfortunate. You have to find the other way to do it, that PNG way. Okay? So occasionally, I'll run into these images that have a little circle or a little R on them. Have you ever seen those images? I have no idea legally what those mean. Okay? So, and I'll show you. Sometimes when you click on one of those, see if we can find one here. Well, I'll just use this one as an example, okay? If this image was an image, it's probably animated. I'll click this one. Okay, let's say they had a little circle of an R or something right there, and I didn't want that in my drawing because I don't want a circle C or R or anything like that. I have no idea. Nobody knows what that means, right? It's a mystery, okay? Legally, I'm claiming ignorance here. It's a mystery, okay? So if I don't want that in there, let me clean up my workstation back here, my work area. If I don't want that in there, there's a way to crop out that image, okay? So the way they want you to do it is to click up here, click the crop button, and then you could easily get rid of everybody except Bob right there. And so when you click on that, notice I got this black box around there, and then boom. Bob's friends are gone. It's just Bob. Okay? So if I needed to get rid of a little C or an R or another minion, I could easily double-click and crop and or I could click that crop button and get out of there. Okay? So, but there's another trick to this. I'm going to hit Control and Z, and that's going to undo what I did. The quick and cool way to do it is if you just double-click on it, then that crop button appears. And from there, you can crop and move the thing around, okay? The other option that they give you is if I go up to this crop button and I click this little triangle, it's a disclosure triangle. If I wanted to put a circle around here, I could do that. So that puts a circle, and see how that kind of crops his legs out? I'll double click on this again, and I can circle and crop out that just like that. Isn't that cool? Okay. So how many times have you seen somebody who's printed out things in the hallway, maybe kids' faces, different things like that, and you couldn't quite crop out everybody else's face, but you know what, a circle would have done it, right? Well, again, the way we would have used it in the analog days is we would have printed that out and used our safety scissors and went right around that kid's head, right? Well, now we can choose an object with cropping and just circular crop, star crop, whatever you want to put that in there. In fact, if I had a picture of a guy I know, let's say me, right there, and I wanted to grab this photo and put that right in there, and I wanted to give myself a star crop, I could do that. I could go out to this callouts, and I could say, hey, you're a star. Okay? So something like that. However you wanted to do it, that's a cool little cropping feature that you could do to make it fun. I'm still seeing the awe. I'm hoping that's not yawning. No? Good. All right. That makes me feel better. All right. So, couple of tips and tricks on how to use Google Drawing. Hopefully that opened up your eyes today and you thought, oh my God, I can't believe this drawing program is built into Google and it was hiding, and it's free. Not only is it built into your Google account for your school, it's built into your personal Google account at school. Built into your kids' personal Google account at school. Okay? So this has always been free. It's something really cool that you can do. The last thing I'll show you with the few remaining minutes I have, because this goes till 10, right? Yes. Last thing I'll show you is how to make something that you can post and make it interactive, right? If you're going to share this with kids and you want to organize something, let's say it's a process, and I'm going to tell my kids, I want you to do step 1, step 2, step 3. Sure, you could do it with a Google Doc, and you could share that out, right? But I want to use a Google Drawing because maybe I want to have a nice picture or something in the background, and I want to make this look cool, all right? So here's what I mean. I'm going to get rid of this guy. I'm going to make some copies of the minion. And if I were going to share this with my kids, I could go up to share, and then I could say view only. And my instructions, that way they couldn't click on it and move the minion around. But if I wanted to say, okay, kids, here are the directions. I want you to click on menu number 1, and that's going to take you to a website. Then I want you to go back to this document, click on menu number 2, and that's going to take you to a fun website, okay? So you can actually make these objects links, okay? So how you do that is you right-click on it, and you click Insert. Oh, where is it? You click on it, and you click this little link button up here, Insert Link, and then you could say www.google.com. Okay? So the deal is when the kids are viewing this, they click on it, and then they click the link, and it takes them to that. Okay? So it's just a neat way to maybe set up an interactive menu. All right? So I've seen this used in the morning for bell ringers. Right? So the first thing we're doing is this, then this, then this. And so it's just a nice visual way to do it that you share out with the kids versus one document, you share that one document. So just a way to make it visually more appealing. So, and something that's built in and hidden into Google Documents. Okay? So any questions before I cut the program? No? All right. Well, thank you very much. I hope you gained a little bit out of this. And I think there's a survey or something up here you got to fill out. So thanks and enjoy the rest of the conference.